Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jamie, and I'm so excited to share my OASE internship experience focused on marine debris, pollution prevention, and the hospitality industry with all of you today. So, like I said, my name is Jamie McMurray, and I'm a rising senior at Oregon State University, and I'm double majoring in business administration and sustainability with a minor in organizational leadership. And I've had a lot of really amazing opportunities at OSU to kind of expand my knowledge and passion for sustainability. I work for the College of Business in a peer-to-peer student engagement role. I work for materials management on campus, and I'm also the president of the Sustainability and Business Club. And those communities are really what kind of inspire and motivate me to take opportunities like this internship and continue with hopefully doing more technical assistance or environmental consulting work in my future career. But today, during this presentation, I will introduce you to the two host businesses that I got to work with this summer. I'll give you a description and overview of my project and the 3 phases that we took to complete it. And then I'll go over outcomes and recommendations that I provided to each of the 4 hospitality business clients that I worked with this summer, and then end with a couple of takeaways as well. So like I said, I worked with 2 amazing nonprofit organizations this summer, the first being Bring, which is an environmental nonprofit that's based in Eugene, Oregon. And they have a few different areas of their business, but where my project was focused is in their Rethink Business program, which is a technical assistance and environmental education program that supports businesses that are in Lane County, which is where Eugene is. And the other organization is OCVA, or the Oregon Coast Visitors Association, and they are a regional destination management company. And what's really cool about this partnership is Bring's Rethink Business program. It has historically been focused just on companies in Lane County and serves those communities. But with the partnership with OCVA, we were able to extend that education and outreach to these coastal businesses all along the Oregon coast. So, whoops, throw the computer. So, what's really amazing about this project and kind of the problem that we were aiming to solve is research shows that the hospitality industry is responsible for generating over 35 million tons of solid waste each year, and 5 to 15% of that is plastics. And if you think about a hospitality business, right, a hotel or restaurant, there's a lot of common single-use and plastic items that probably come to mind. So like single-use toiletries, for example, or to-go food serviceware, single-serve plastic packaging for prepackaged food and snacks and things like that. So my project was focused on connecting with these businesses and implementing pollution prevention measures that would reduce their reliance on those single-use plastic items. So we went through this project in 3 different phases. First was developing a checklist of measures to present to each of these business clients. And making sure that each measure on the checklist had that marine debris focus. And so once that final checklist was finished up, I moved on to doing in-person site visits with each of the 4 clients, and I would meet with them and walk through their operations, and then provide a custom recommendations report to them based on areas within their operations that we identified as areas of improvement for them. And then after that, I would ask each client for purchasing quantity information to be able to perform my P2 calculations and summarize what the potential costs and environmental savings would be for adopting each of the recommendations that I provided. So after that, I would summarize it, put that all into a easily digestible 1-pager for the client to help them make a decision on which recommendations they should actually adopt into their operations. And just wanted to quickly mention most of the checklist measures that are included in our final marine debris checklist are focused at the top of the waste hierarchy there, with source reduction of those plastic items being of the utmost importance. We did include some information about recycling and proper disposal of those items as well, but just wanted to mention that. So this is an example of the final marine debris checklist that we created. We ended with 22 pollution prevention measures focused in categories including purchasing, solid waste, amenities, and then there was 1 community measure as well. Here is a sample of one of the recommendations reports that we provided to our client. So like I said, after I walked through the operations and got to see what products and practices were in place, and we went through and checked off each measure of the checklist. So the recommendations report provides the outcomes of that checklist walkthrough, and then a statement for every recommendation in each focus area that needed improvement, with a little bit of a blurb and explanation about why it's important for them to consider this recommendation. And then we also included both implementation and educational resources for the client. So implementation resources are things like direct links to environmentally preferred products. And then the educational resources are more things like articles or studies, kind of that background information that would paint the picture of, again, why making this switch would be important for them to consider. And this is an example of an impact report that I would provide to the client. So like I said, I would get that purchasing quantity information from each of them, do my P2 calculations to kind of analyze the cost and the potential cost and environmental savings, summarize that, throw it into this one pager with the most impactful recommendations, the ones that would make the most sense for the client to adopt, and then any additional considerations that might be relevant for them. So in total, across all 4 hospitality businesses that I worked with, the potential annual savings were about $7,300 each year, around 1,600 pounds of plastic reduced, about 0.35 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions, and almost 31,000 gallons of water. I do have the individual P tables for each of the clients thrown in at the end, but just for the sake of time, I can throw those up and flick through them later. But those were my total outcomes. And as for my takeaways from this project, it was really eye-opening to get to go in person and see the different business operations that happen at unique businesses. So it was interesting to see that there's not kind of a one-size-fits-all solution for the hospitality industry, right? Each of the clients that I worked with, which was only 4, were very different depending on their size, the way the company was structured, and the different products and services they offered. So I think it was really impactful for them and for me to see and provide those custom recommendations, because the company can then pick and choose what makes sense for them without having too much difficulty in trying to adopt every single recommendation that's out there. And on more of a personal note, it was really inspiring and I think motivating to, again, work with these 4 clients, because these ones we can kind of consider them early adopters in the environmental movement that we're seeing, right? They had already built some sort of sustainability ethos and had those environmental considerations built into their operations. So to know that they're still working to further reduce their environmental footprint and take on a project like this, especially in their busy season, right? It's tourism season on the Oregon coast. So it was amazing to see the work that they're doing and the effort that they're putting in. And also to think about I was still able to provide some potential savings to them, but to think of the impacts, what the potential impacts could be if this kind of education and outreach were provided to, say, every hotel and restaurant along the Oregon coast. Those impacts could be much, much greater. So it was really amazing to get to work with all of these clients. And with that, thank you so much. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I can also throw up my my P2 tables if people want to see those as well.
Okay, are there any questions in the room? Hannah?
Well, what were your strategies? Because you worked with a lot of businesses, right?
Yeah.
What were your strategies to keep in contact with them and like effectively communicate with so many?
Absolutely. So I was very lucky. My host businesses are here in the room. So my host business lead from Aqua was able to kind of build those partnerships and get a commitment from each of the 4 clients ahead of time. But then I was responsible for communication with them, for doing the checklist and walkthrough. And we were lucky to have that commitment ahead of time with clients, but I think just being consistent in your communication, I got emails and phone numbers. So just following up and making sure ahead of time that the client kind of understands what the scope of the project is and how much time they're going to commit to it and just setting that expectation up and then following through with that, I think was helpful for us. I will say one challenge was I wasn't able to get actual purchasing information from one of the clients. So I did my P2 calculations based on some estimates. I looked at like average occupancy rates for Oregon Coast hotels and made some assumptions for that. But the rest of our communication was very successful, I would say. Yeah.
I was wondering, how much of the savings were attributable to food?
To food packaging. So actually only one of the facilities that I worked.
Food or food packaging?
Oh, food packaging.
Oh, food
Because I
packaging.
saw
Right.
just a subheading in one of the letters that you
Mhm.
produced for them. And I was just curious if there was a pattern throughout all the businesses that you studied.
Yeah, so I actually only worked with one restaurant. The other three were hotels, but each of them had some sort of prepackaged food, like a food pantry for guests that had single serve, snacks like candies or cheese and crackers that were individually packaged. So those were definitely a consistent theme across all four businesses. I don't have the totals off the top of my head of what the total impacts were, but definitely food packaging, prepackaged foods, and coffee and tea were consistent at all four of the facilities that I worked with.
Good question. Thank you. Okay, we have to move on.
Okay,
But
thank
if you
you.
want to see her tables, they are
available.
I mean, the reason why she's noting that because she put so much work into making all the calculations, and I can actually understand